Hello, welcome to this video. Today we will be going over parabola features, and we will be going over how to find coordinates of the root, x-intercept, y-intercept, vertex, and the axis of symmetry. So I'll try to make this as fast as possible. So um, here's what I'll do. Okay, I'll do one problem with you, and I'll give you one problem, and you try to solve that, and then we'll solve it together. So we'll do two problems for each one. So let's go. Okay, the first thing we're gonna work with are going to be roots. So it says using this graph, determine the coordinates of the roots of the parabola. So this is our parabola right here, this blue U shape kind of. That's a parabola. So when it's asking for roots, it's basically asking you where does the parabola intersect the x-axis, or in other words, when does y equal 0? So the only time that y is going to ever be equal to 0 is going to be on the x-axis. So let's see where the parabola hits the x-axis. So we're going to go along the x-axis and try to find where the parabola hits it. So you can see that it hits it at -6 and it hits it at -8. So now we can put those 2 points. -8 is going to be our x, and then -6 is also going to be our x. And then we already know that y is going to be equal to 0 because we already found that out. So these are going to be our 2 points, -8 comma 0 and -6 comma 0. So if we were to put that in, we would have 2 points, -8, 0, and -6, 0. And again, not again, but to clarify, the order of these numbers do not matter. I could have -6 here and -8 here, and it would still be correct. I could have -6 here, and I could have -8 here. It would still be correct. Okay, it does not matter. So put this in. It's correct. So let's go to another root problem. Okay. All right. So try to solve this one on your own. I'll give you a couple of seconds. So pause the video and see if you can solve it. All right, let's do this one together. All right, so again, it's asking us to determine the coordinates of the roots of the parabola. So again, the root is basically where the parabola intersects the x-axis, or in other words, when y is equal to 0. So let's go along the x-axis. So we can go along the x-axis, try to find where the parabola hits it, and it hits it at -6, and it hits it at not -6, sorry, 6, and it hits at 8. So 6 and 8 are 2 points. Then y is obviously equal to 0, and these will be our 2 points, 6, 0, and 8, 0. Hopefully you got that. So 6, 0, and 8, 0. 2 points, 6, 0, and 8, 0. Alrighty, let's go to X-Intercept now. So, okay, using this graph, determine the coordinates of the X-intercepts of the parabola. So the X-intercept is basically the same thing as root, but it's worded differently. So if we were to find the X-intercepts of the parabola, well, we just need to find where the parabola intersects the x-axis, or in other words, when y is equal to 0. So we're basically doing the same thing with roots, but it just says x-intercepts. We're doing the same thing. So I'll actually let you work on this, so to see if you can figure this one out. Remember, all we're doing the same thing, just worded differently. So pause the video and try to give it a shot. All right, now let's do it together. So again, x-intercept and root, same thing, is when the parabola intersects the x-axis, or when y is equal to 0. So let's go along the x-axis and let's try to find where it hits where the parabola hits the x-axis. So boom, right there it hits it, and let's go more. Right there hits it. So those 2 points are -3 and 1. So those are the 2 points. Obviously, y is equal to 0 since we are on the x-axis. So these are going to be our 2 points. So let's input that in. Hopefully you got that same answer as me. And boom, that's correct. Let's go to another one of these x-intercept problems. All right. Again, try to work on this and see if you can figure this out. So pause the video and see if you can find this one out. Alrighty, let's go work on this together now. All right. So again, roots and x-intercept, same thing, is where the parabola intersects the x-axis, or in other words, when y is equal to 0. So let's go along the x-axis, and let's try to find where the parabola intersects it. So, oh, right there, and right there. So those 2 points are -5 and 1. So y is equal to 0. So these will be our 2 points. Hopefully you got that answer. If not, then go in the comments and tell me what's confusing you about this, because this is really all you're doing is finding out where the parabola hits the x-axis and putting those 2 coordinates in. That's all. Nothing too hard. All right, so now we're going to go to the, where is it? The y-intercept of the parabola. So the y-intercept of the parabola is basically the opposite of x-intercept and root. So with the x-intercept and root is when the parabola intersects the x-axis, or in other words, when y is equal to 0. Now with y-intercept, we're doing the opposite. Y-intercept is when the parabola intersects the y-axis and when x is equal to 0. So the only time that x is going to be equal to 0 is going to be along the y-axis. Now this in red is our y-axis. It's even labeled y. Okay, so that is our y-axis. So we need to find out where the parabola hits the y-axis. So let's go to the y-axis and try to find out where it intersects it. So let's go here, here, here. Oh, there we go. There it is. Let's see if we can find some more points here. And no, we cannot. So our coordinate is going to be only 3 and 0, 3. Sorry. We're just going to have 0, 3. We're not going to have 3, 0 because, well, we're doing on the y-axis. So we're going to have 0 and 3. So that's going to be our what point? 0 and 3. Alrighty. Oh, this is okay. So try to solve this problem now on your own, and we'll work on this together. Alrighty, let's go. So the y-intercept is when the parabola intersects the y-axis, or when x is equal to 0. So let's go along the y-axis. Oh, and there's the point. Nothing else there. I have 0 because x is equal to 0 on the y-axis. It's going to be in the y-intercept is -3. And that is our 1 point. 0 and -3. Now let's go to the vertex. So vertex is different with x-intercept, root, and y-intercept. Vertex is actually the minimum point on the parabola, so the lowest point of the parabola. So let's see the lowest point of the parabola. So you can even think of it this way. So like this is not going to be one of the vertexes because there's a line there, so that's not the minimum point. This is not going to be there's 2 lines. This is not going to be there's 2 lines. This is not going to be there's going to be 2 lines. This is not going to be there are 2 lines. This is not going to be there are 2 lines. This is not going to be there are 2 lines. This is not going to be it. There are 2 lines. This is also not going to be there are 2 lines, and this and this and this. This is not going to be because there are 2 lines. But then when we get here, remember remember that the vertex is the minimum point, and there is no other line except for this 1 point right here, and that is our vertex. That is our minimum point on the parabola. So that is our coordinate. So our x is -1, and then our y is 4. So that is our vertex. So if we were to input that in, 1 point, and we would have that as -1 and 4. All right, now we have another vertex problem. So I pause the video, see if we can figure this one out. Alrighty, let's go. So the vertex is again the minimum point on a graph. So the lowest point on the graph. So let's see. So you can basically just think of this as like a horizontal line test. You can see if you know, if you go like like this, are there 2 points there? If yes, that is not the vertex. But if there is like 1 point, like there is right here, then that means that there Oh, that's a really bad check mark. Wow. That's actually really bad. Okay, that's a rough image, but is the vertex. So let's go along. So go here, there's two lines here. There's two lines here, two coordinates here, two coordinates here. There are two coordinates. Here 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 there are two coordinates. And here there are two coordinates. And then here there are also two coordinates. But then when we go here, there is no two coordinates. So that is going to be our vertex right there. Oh, shoot. So that is going to be our vertex. The big point. Well, this is a really big circle. Wow. I had no idea they could be this big. Okay, so that's going to be our vertex. So that is what, that's, what can we see with all these bars? With 1 and -4. So 1 and -4 are our vertex. So hopefully you got 1 and -4. Hopefully that method helps you. Oh, 1, -4. With kind of find out the vertex. So that is vertex. Now let's go to a different one. Axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry is basically the middle of the parabola. So what's like the middle of the parabola? Remember, the parabola is this U shape. So what's in the middle of it? What number is in the middle of it? Yes, -3 is in the middle of it. Now we can't just put down -3 because that's doesn't really show anything. So what would you put after that? -3 and 0. So that is our coordinate, but that's not what they're asking. They're asking for the equation for the axis of symmetry. So how do we represent the axis of symmetry by this coordinate? Well, could we put y is equal to 0? Because y is equal to 0 here, but we can't do this because, well, I can just grab any point on the x-axis that's going to be y equals 0. Like I can put 5 because when 5 is x, y is equal to 0. So this is not really accurate because it does not represent the axis of symmetry. What we would do is we would do x is equal to -3. That is an appropriate equation for the axis of symmetry because this shows where the coordinate is, and that's the middle of the parabola right here. The middle of the parabola right here. So that's going to be our equation. X is equal to -3. So equation and x is equal to -3. Let's do one more. All right, so you try to find the axis of symmetry, and we'll work on it together. So pause the video and see if you can solve it. Alrighty, let's go. So the axis of symmetry is, again, the middle of the parabola. So what's the direct middle? Well, that's going to be, I can't really see when I do this line, but the middle is going to be 7. That's the middle of the parabola right there. Right? So now we're going to write down 7 is our x, and then y is ours, and 0 is our y. So that's going to be the coordinate. Now to represent this, what we would do is x is equal to 7. So that is our equation. X is equal to 7. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. Hopefully you can still understand this. This isn't a very hard lesson. Parabola feature is not hard at all. You just need to know, for the graph. So actually, we're gonna do one more axis of symmetry problem because the last two we did, it was really clear what the axis of symmetry was. So try to find out what the equation of this axis of symmetry is. Alrighty, let's solve this. So the axis of symmetry is the middle of the line. So if we were to start at the x-intercepts, again, that's when the parabola intersects the x-axis, that's going to be 1 and 7. That's not the middle. 2 and 6, they're not the middle. 3 and 5 are not the middle. Oh, guess what's the middle? +4. So now we have the coordinates 4. Oh, I'm still okay. 4 and 0. Now how do we put this into equation? X is equal to what? You got it. 4. That is our equation for the axis of symmetry. X is equal to 4. So let's jot that in real quick. Alrighty, so that is parabola features. If you need more help or assistance on this, please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to assist you. But other than that, have a good day. I'll see you next time. Bye.